Welcome to the Chop Shop, your midday sports happy hour. Yours truly, Jim Hicks. Of course, Robert Haller is traveling today. He may join us later on in the show, but to the Chop Shop, your midday sports happy hour. Yours truly, Jim. Get this thing right, and we are back in. Of course, you guys missed me most of last week. Was in St. Louis for the Nike Elite 100 camp. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk a little bit about, of course, NBA championships ended on a bittersweet note. To chime in on that, we'll open up the phone lines later on for you guys to call right in and talk about some of the things you saw. We'll also dive into the TABC basketball showcase, which was held in Dallas. Duncanville area was the primary location this past weekend. Over 500 teams were present. I think 522 to be exact, and man, a few hundred college coaches were all over the place, and we'll get your thoughts on that as well. Chime in, but first and foremost, of course, comes right into your lap is the elephant in the room, and that is the trade that sent tremors throughout the basketball world with Kevin Durant coming to the Houston Rockets. I'm gonna tell you this before, without getting into the details. Of course, you guys know what was at stake and what they gave up in regard to Dylan Brooks, Jalen Green, and a host of this year's lottery pick that the Rockets had, I think at number 10, and a host of non-valuable second-round picks for which none of those young men will probably had, it's just a waste of time. So basically draft and stash type picks going dispersed to the Phoenix Suns. So what it means, of course, a lot of people has been, some people aren't, remember, fans, you guys, that's the whole point. You, especially those who are, buy season tickets, 10-minute games, buy product from your favorite teams. It's not, that's part of the stress relief. Part of it's therapeutic for some of you guys to vent your thoughts, your opinions in drastic ways. But bottom line, at the end of the day, it's hard for you to make me to believe that this Rockets team is worse on paper than they were a month ago. I personally, I can provide several instances in recent years where there's been a trade involving the Houston Rockets, and it was published more than a week and in the forefront, that did not go through. This one did, and I was shocked because I had grown to believe that somebody was purposely trying to sabotage it, because I knew for a fact, and you saw what happened if you're reading the book backwards, the one team that they said it came down to, and Kevin Durant vetoed it, didn't want to go there. So Phoenix was actually trying to accommodate KD, and that was the Minnesota Timberwolves. I even tweeted it. I had got intel. You realize there's a couple of guys that lives in Houston that were in the front office with the Minnesota Timberwolves. And so it's like anybody. Everybody has a plug somewhere. That deal was done. It was just basically up to KD. And it was up for Ant-Man to go and just help seal the deal. Sometimes you need a star player to go seal the deal. The deal was done. You just need somebody to seal it. And from what all signs and what the intel points now, KD turned it down. Man, but Dylan, basically what you're looking at in the starting lineup, and I talked Chris Walker over the weekend, and about the trade, and we swapped thoughts, and I explained to him, listen, in the starting lineup, remember, Amin Thompson had supplanted Jabari Smith as a starter. When Jabari went out, before he came back, Amin was performing so well, man. It's like it was no way you can disrupt the productivity that you was getting from this young man. So they finally, and I get it, guys, a young guy like Jabari, it probably don't sit well. You have to ride, you worked hard to get into the starting lineup, or to maybe a main, a main presence in the starting lineup, and all of a sudden this guy, you get hurt, and normally some people, they come back and their job is theirs. This guy had to roll with this young fella, and had to convince Jabari that everything is going to be okay. We're still down with you. It's just that y'all the team. We need this young brother is balling. So what happens now? Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green are going. Jalen Green led the team in scoring during the regular season with 20 points a game. Playoff time came. Jalen Green basically was in single digits 5 of those 7 games against the Warriors. He scored 38 in game 2 and was basically MIA the rest of the way, including a pivotal game 7, which anything that they could have gotten from him would have been definitely appreciated. And a lot of people just was, and understand something. Everybody has plugs somewhere. I have plugs over the Houston Rockets. And I'm going to tell you what I got. Remember now, I've been around several NBA people in St. Louis at top 100, Elite 100 camp, and in addition to dozens of former NBA guys that were just present at the TABC event. Jalen Green, and it's going to seep out sooner or later. He just fell out of favor, especially with the coach. Even though the coach doesn't necessarily make these decisions, but the coach has a pre-existing relationship with Kevin Durant. And not only does the coach have the head coach of the Rockets, but assistant coach of the Rockets has a pre-existing relationship with Kevin Durant, which that doesn't necessarily yield a magic wand, but that reinforces that head coach. Like, this is, hey, we can get one more shot with KD in a situation. Whereas with the Houston Rockets, unlike Brooklyn or Phoenix, both of those teams either had gutted their primary starting lineup for him, or were in rebuilding mode, and they were in process of building something special with their supposed big 3 at each one of those places. Well, the Houston Rockets did not have to gut a main artery to keep the blood, keep everything flowing properly through the heart and soul of this team. Neither Brooklyn or Phoenix was a number 2 seed before getting Kevin Durant. Immediately upon getting him, put it like that. So it's different. This team, this Rockets team, or this team, unlike those, they didn't need Kevin Durant to make the playoffs. They need a person with Kevin Durant's pedigree to get them through the playoffs, specifically the second round, third round. We're talking West Conference Finals. Kevin Durant, his clock is ticking. His snooze button is ticking right now. You know, you hit the alarm clock and hit the snooze. He knows that. He has one, maybe 2, maybe 3 more snoozes to tap into at age 37. So I mean, as I'm saying with this Rockets team, you lose Dylan Brooks, you lose Jalen Green. So think about out of your starting lineup, you lose those two. So basically, this comes down to I'm gaining Kevin Durant in my starting lineup, and more than likely Jabari Smith gets back into the starting lineup. So these are our 5 to start with. We'll deal with the others in a second. But these are the ones to start with. Right? The starters. You get Kevin Durant, you get Jabari back in the starting lineup. He's with that A team now. You lose Dylan Brooks, you lose Jalen Green. That starting lineup, it ain't no way you can make me believe that's a down tick. You guys know that. So now comes to the bench, right? You get a Tari Eason, right? Now, also, the Rockets bench. There's several guys. Let me look this thing up, see what all we're missing off that Rockets bench before we can just go right into it. I'm looking it up for you guys, and while I do so, if you guys would be so. Let me help you out and share the show. Let's share the show real quick. Get a good share on your, whether you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube. We're streaming simultaneously. It would be so kind if you would share this show so that we can extend and everybody can get into these conversations. Once again, talking NBA talk right now on the Chop Shop, and I am going to pull and check. We're talking Houston Rockets for next year, for this upcoming season. Now, starting 5 projected. Of course, Fred VanVleet, Amen Thompson ain't going nowhere, right? Sengun ain't going nowhere. Kevin Durant, and of course you have, I'm thinking maybe Jabari Smith goes back into the starting lineup. That's what I'm thinking. Now, on that means that slot off the bench that was vacated, right? Well, not vacated. That means basically Jabari is getting a promotion back into the starting lineup. So that means what's coming off their bench now. Of course, I mentioned you had, of course, they just signed Steven Adams a couple of weeks ago. He's the OG on the team, and he's serviceable still. So you got him. You got Tari Eason, right? You got Aaron Holiday still, right? The big question mark, the elephant in that room. What happens to Cam Whitmore? He had fell out of favor as well. Either two things come to me is with Cam Whitmore, guys. Either the Rockets, nobody wanted, when I say nobody, because they could have traded him. Either nobody wants him for whatever they're asking. They could have threw him into the Phoenix deal and kept a couple of those draft picks and say, man, y'all just take Cam. So the Rockets may feel either two things. Either they're not done and they're going to probably do something with Cam. He came and said, man, you know what? I was wrong, and I'm going to atone for my actions, and let's turn a new leaf. Maybe that be the case. Because if so, he's a talent that I wish, like I said, his body language was horrible during time intervals during this season. But his output per minute, good gracious. And he could be an enforcer. He's a microwave on the offensive end. But one thing about it, and I said I like, in regarding this Rockets team, Reed Shepherd is on that. Now he gets a promotion. He gets a chance to get a chunk of minutes to be able to prove worthy of that top 3 NBA draft pick that he is. Remember, it just was no minutes for him last year. It just wasn't. And they sent him down to the G League, and as they said, remember one game he hit damn near 40. And it was like, you know what? He's too good to let just simmer in the G League. But he got it out the mud, and don't get it twisted. You pick a guy that high. You give him enough rope, at least enough rope, that if he wants to either hang somebody or he may hang himself. So that bench, you got Reed Shepard, you got Aaron Holiday, I mentioned, you got Steven Adams, you got Tyree Eason. That's a 4 off the bench, and that's solid. So we'll see, and they still have the kid Tate. And either this will be the, I mean, what are they going to do? I mean, he's been there for a few years now. And his energy is super on the bench. He's rooting for everybody. That don't mean you're going to play, but that means that he's a good soldier. His team is loaded. We're on paper. We saw what they do. A number 2 seed that doesn't transfer at, guess what, 2nd round. So I'm thinking the seed, once again, the seed doesn't mean much to the team gets the 2nd seed this year. This seed don't mean much right now. No matter how you slice it, you're going to have to face either Denver, Golden State, Minnesota, OKC, a healthy Clippers. Somebody, you're going to face one of them in the 1st round, no matter how you slice it. And so unless you get a 7, 8, 9, 10 seed, of course, then that doesn't have but a 1 through 6, man, at this point, only thing that matters to is home court advantage. And that's round by round. Now, your thoughts in regard to Houston Rockets, and I'll put it up there for you guys in just a second. Let's see. I'll put it up, see if I got it up here. See if I got it. There you go, right there. So phone lines are open for you guys if you want to get your thoughts on this Houston Rockets Phoenix Sun trade. Which, do you like it? What you think the Rockets gonna do this year? I know one thing for sure: expectations are premium. They're high right now. It wasn't like, remember, year before, Rockets barely missed the playoff. They were at 500, barely missed it by like a game and a half. Go from there to being the number 2 seed. You get to the 2nd round, get ousted by Golden State. Mind you, it's a Golden State team with the Jimmy Butler, but but this Rockets team, what do you expect from them this year? Western or bust? What would constitute to a disappointment? We know the bell curve is set at least 2nd round. I'm thinking at least 3rd round. And 3rd round, you know what that is. So the lines are open, and we'll go to some of your comments. And Odyssey says Cam Whitmore going to take Brooks' spots as long as Durant stay healthy. Odyssey, I don't think they're going to thrust Cam Whitmore and reward him with a starting job. He's lucky to have a job with this team based on his actions or antics this past season. We'll see. I hope, but I'm thinking if Jabari Smith does not go into the starting lineup and takes that 6-man role and try to roll and rock with it, then that means Reed Shepard is going to go into that to give some reinforce, to balance the floor with shooting, perimeter, be able to stretch it a little bit. Now, do they give him an opportunity to to him, meaning Reed Shepherd. They'll give him an opportunity to, I guess, either dance or get off the floor with this. Maybe. Because we know one side of the floor, you got to play KD honest. I mean, he's going to keep things honest over there. So if you loading up, you got to have somebody else on the other side to balance this thing off. You whooping the thing on back around. This Houston Rockets team, Fred VanVleet, he shot that thing in postseason. He came around from the perimeter. He was money more times than not. So now that perimeter becomes a valuable threat. KD, of course, perimeter on the inside, he gives value to the mid-range, which the Houston Rockets were in the bottom tier of mid-range makers in the NBA last season. So that's one right there. Somebody else had a question. I'm posing some of your questions up there. Do you think that the Rockets even try to package something for Giannis when they stand packed? No, they're good. They're good. Remember, there's an old quote that I often refer to, and it says, perfection is not attained when you can no longer add, but when you can no longer take away. When you can no longer take away. You don't need that. Right now, you don't mess up your chemistry. That methods. So I think they're good right now. And what I do is I forgot, and I acknowledge right now the starting five, meaning there was the first 5 viewers combined from either platform to jump and log into the show. And shout out to Otha Brown, right? I'll give him a shout. That's him right there. You guys can follow him on the social media platforms. Thaddeus Moody. You guys can follow Thaddeus Moody. He's in the starting 5. Big Coach is in the starting 5. Daryl Anderson. Follow him as well. And of course, last but not least, we're going to go with Brian Boatwright. Follow him as well. These are your starting 5. We were talking a little NBA talk now with the Houston Rockets and the trade. That's what we started off the show with, was the trade. Now the breaking news, we get into the NBA Finals. Thunder took care of business on their home court, but not without a heart-grabbing possession, whereas Tyrese Halliburton went down, and it has been confirmed by breaking news what most people already suspected, and that he has a torn ACL. I mean, that was sad news. I mean, the ACLs. All right, now we appear to be back on the set. Sorry for those hiccups. It happens sometimes with this software that I have on this particular computer. And but anyway, we're back in. So now we just get you guys. I'm gonna share the show one more time with you guys as well. We're talking. You guys, excuse my voice. I've been talking all week, shaking hands and politicking and all that stuff. I'm gonna tell you something. I was looking, and it was funny we mentioned about the trades. We talking about the NBA Finals, but one thing I forgot about the trade. Do you guys realize that of course OKC, was in the Western Conference Finals, had Golden State 3-1, and was speculated to just close the Warriors out before Golden State won 3 straight games to advance to the championship against the Cleveland Cavaliers that particular year. The Houston Rockets, shortly afterwards, they got James Harden, who was on that OKC team. Then they got Westbrook, who was on that OKC team. Then now they have Kevin Durant, who was on that OKC team. And Golden OKC has also received a couple of stars that was in the Rockets uniform. It's almost like these two teams, I'm quite sure their front offices have, but it's indirectly, don't get it twisted when it comes to the Kevin Durant. He didn't come directly from OKC as did James Harden. But it's just ironic we got those guys. And I mentioned earlier about the connection. Royal Ivey, assistant coach, played with KD at University of Texas. It's different if y'all reunite. Yes, Royal Ivey from the East Coast, you're going to reunite with him in Brooklyn, but that ain't the same. And Kevin Durant is from the East Coast. We're watching the DC, they call it the DMV area. But one thing for certain, I don't know what the count on season tickets were before this past weekend. Kevin Durant is University of Texas. Even though he was there just 1 year. They love him. He still, to this day, goes back to UT in Austin and offers either physical or financial support. He's there working out every summer. So that means it's not some guys, when they get out and leave a school, they don't want nothing to deal with it. Mind you, this ain't the same coaching staff. He doesn't probably know maybe 1 or 2 guys on the University of Texas coaching staff. Right? Maybe Chris Ogden. Well, is Ogden even on the staff now? I don't even know if he's still on the staff. But you get what I'm saying. University of Texas and Kevin Durant knows this is his last lap around the track. He knows this. So I would expect for him to approach it in a manner to not make the same mistake twice. Whatever mistakes that he may have owned from either or Brooklyn, Phoenix. And that's what I have on that particular topic. Now, I want to get with you guys, of course, we're talking the NBA Finals. Oh, let me share this thing with you guys. There we go. I was sharing it myself. On, SGA, man, he pulled it off. And you got to realize, and I'm thinking it's still, like the reason I was talking, and this OKC team, even though they've set a record for the most margin, for the highest margin of wins, the wins with the most, the most double-digit wins, the most, and they set that record. That comes from defense. This team is like maybe over a dozen categories of defense of various angles or stats, and within defense, they were elite on the leaderboard. And but we're gonna go, like I said, the phone lines are open, and we're gonna give you guys a chance to get up in here. And hold on 1 second, we're gonna get these things popping. And hold on, let's get the lines open, and we should have you guys ready to roll right now. Welcome to the Chop Shop. Who we have here on? Okay, hold on. We're gonna get you right. We're gonna get you right. We're gonna see. We're gonna see. I don't know what's wrong. Let me get you right. Hold on. Y'all bear with me. Let's get this thing popping so we can get now. It ain't clicking you up on there. So what we're gonna do is gonna get you to hang up and call right back. Let's get you up in there while we get everything's connected. That's what we're gonna do. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. And meanwhile, you guys bear with me as I try to play the bongos and the piano at the same time. And trying to see what my anyway, it's not there. Can't get you, don't seem to get you logged in, but we're gonna tap you in straight through this on this line right here. It ain't gonna be now you have to talk a little loud. Who we got here? All right, Herb. Yeah, sorry for the. We got you up in there. What's your take on? What you got to talk on?
Man, I'm kind of torn with the Rockets trade.
Okay, why is that?
I think the Rockets were trending in the right direction, building through the drafts, and kind of staying away from the free agent market for the most part. I know they signed Ben Fleet, but for the most part, they built with young talent and built from within and developed their young talent. And now I think you're giving up. Jalen Green didn't play well in the playoffs, but he had a great season. I think Jalen Green is going to be a perennial all-star in the league for years to come. He's 23, 24 years old. He'll probably play another 12 to 15 years in the league. Dylan Brooks, not sure how old he is, maybe 27, 28. He may have another 8 to 10 years in the league. He's one of the better perimeter defenders in the league. The second round picks, that's not too much, of an issue. I just think they gave up too much for KD. I mean, KD is still one of the greatest scorers to ever play the game. Still scores very easily, but he's a great defender in the league right now. So when you leave, what you're gaining in offense, you might be giving it right back up on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, and so you play. So that means we're playing with Sengun at the 5 again. We're playing with KD at the 4. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of torn. I love KD as a player. I don't know his love for the game, his skill set, but just the Rockets, they didn't play well in the playoffs. They didn't get it done, but I think they were trending in the right direction with that group they had. They might should have tried to package Jabari Smith and Reed Shepard and maybe a first round pick or something. But I don't know about giving up Jalen Green.
Well, if you've ever been on the team, and if a player falls out of favor, and if the coach has the support of the upper management, and if the coach goes into the office and say, I want this guy, if you can get him, I want him. And if you can get him for a discount to the dollar, meaning that every one of the trades that they tried to work, KD he vetoed. So they were willing to accommodate Kevin Durant, they meaning Phoenix. And the deal was done with Minnesota. The deal could be done. Then the last minute the guy said, man, no, I ain't going there. I don't want to do that. I don't want to live in that cold. I grew up in the cold. I done been in the cold in Brooklyn. I don't want to go to Minnesota. So now, back to Jalen Green. I will reiterate. Jalen Green had fell out of favor. He was not a favorite of the coach. Plus, I have very strong intel that Jalen Green. Remember now, Jalen Green came into that team, and you know, when guys get into the workplace, they can hear stories because you're from California. So you hear how James Harden tried to do, how he did when he was there. You know, you basically, you know, you can be late here. You can, you know, the plane don't move until you get ready for it to move. So Jalen Green had pretty much, some people felt he had went Hollywood on the team. He was late. He was late, according to my sources. He was late quite often to several practices and meetings. Basically, so that means the impression like I get here when I get there. And that part can disrupt a culture that you're trying to create and assemble and mold. And that was one thing. His off the court stuff, they say he was that I'm just saying what's come to me. They say that, you know, and they're not going to put that stuff out there in the middle of the public, in the middle of the streets, but people that know. Just like people that knew things what James Harden was doing, people that knew what he was doing. If you were out in them streets, then you saw him. If you were out in the underground, you saw him. So you knew what he was doing, or you knew what he wasn't doing. So if Jalen Green is doing all it was ripe, and then you factor in Jalen Green in the regular season, his 20 points per game, who led this team. You know, that ain't, if he did that next season with the Houston Rockets, and everybody know what everybody's gonna say, okay, that's fine and dandy. Let's see what he's gonna do now, because we don't even worry about the regular season with him. That wasn't the question mark. Question mark is when these lights are bright. And I quote, Jalen Green said it himself. You go back and look at the transcript, his press release after game 7. You know what he said? I played like some shit. So you know it. That was his first time saying it. After game 1, you know what he said? Man, I kind of struck them lights, you know, lights were a little bit too bright for me tonight. His first playoff game. So I get it, and we'll see. Time will tell. Do the Rockets win 52 games? I mean, you know, that, like I said, the seeding matters least to me, because there are several teams that have showed, including the Houston Rockets, that have showed the capacity to go and win on the road, even in the postseason. Remember, this Houston Rockets, they won at one of the games at Golden State, right? So you know, and we not to mention with Indiana, everybody, that's remarkable what they did. But winning on the road is pretty much a commonplace. Everybody's still in one game at least on the road in the playoffs now. So we'll see how it goes. Appreciate it, Herb. Thanks a bunch for calling to the Chop Shop. And of course, that phone line's open, 832-264-1500 is the number. And I'm trying to see which one of these other devices. So the next caller, so the next caller will probably be more of a audible conversation. You guys will be able to hear it. I'm just going through some stuff. Let's see if we get that off. So it ain't there. And I think it might be them Apple, what they call those things you stick in your ear. And I had them in my luggage. Now, I don't know how to cut this thing off. Yeah, we'll do that like that. Maybe that'll get it now. But anyway, phone lines open. Of course, now I'll be putting some more of your comments on there. Malcolm says, tell Mr. Heller to put some respect on OKC name. OKC, I mean, I was rooting for 7 games. You guys heard me say this. I was rooting for 7 games. I honestly didn't care who won the last game 7, but for the sake of Robert Haller, Chris Walker, they were pro Indiana. So I say, you know what? I'm gonna go with the youth. I went with the younger team because that I described OKC as the independent grassroots basketball team that had kicked the butts of some of the sneaker teams. This was a team that even though they had the best record, even though last year they done fantastic in the regular season, but they fizzled in the postseason. And it was one of those seasons, one of those years where everybody say, well, let's see what they're gonna do now. They didn't bust a grape in the postseason last year, and guess what? They did bust a grape this year, and then some. As I mentioned about SGA, remarkable what he did in regards to becoming one of only 4 people to win the scoring title, the MVP, the NBA Finals, and the Finals MVP. One of only 4, joining Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Michael Jordan, and Shaquille O'Neal. Only 4 people, again, have won the scoring title, the MVP of the regular season of the NBA, the NBA Finals, and the Finals MVP, all in the same year. So what happens now, the bullseye goes on SGA's back, and we'll see if he can sustain. He don't necessarily have to do all 4 of them again, but if he's in the range, then he has arrived, which he's already arrived. I'm talking about he's undebatable, put it like that. Undebatable in regard to his stance among this era of NBA players. 40 minutes past the hour, guys, on the Chop Shop. You guys, welcome. If you guys are just tuning in, we want to get you to share the show, if you will. All you have to do is look down. If you're on the Facebook, you'll see the thumbs up. You'll see an arrow. Hit that arrow and share to your stories or your groups, and it'll be cool so that they can come. And I'm going to try to see if I can get there you go. I'm going to share. I forgot I haven't shared with one of the groups in a while, and I am doing so right now, sharing it to a couple of little basketball groups as we talk hookah with them. At the top of the hour, we'll get into the TABC showcase and share thoughts and exchange thoughts on that. You guys make sure. And I see somebody says, let me put this on. Kevin Freeman says the Rockets are tired of Jalen Green's painted fingernail polish. We got another one says high volume, low efficiently athletes come a dime a dozen. Nothing about Green screams championship DNA. Green and Brooks equals KD. We can find another Jalen Green in 3 years. We got to realize, man, the pressure also with Jalen Green. He's a number 2 pick, a former number 2 pick for the Houston Rockets. Number 1 pick was Cade Cunningham. He's an NBA All-Star. Number 3 pick was Evan Mobley. He's an NBA All-Star. So that's not to diminish any success. Jalen Green was spectacular. for the most part, lived up to the. Once he bought in, you saw the change with him. Remember, he started out, they had benched him, put him back in, and you could see, and he just, he kind of bought in for the most part, or it looked like it from afar. But still, some of the damage can be done, and some damage can be irreparable. Even though I can tolerate you, it gives me to my old analogy. As long as the talent is greater than the problem, you will be tolerated. But once the problem is greater than the talent, your ass is expendable. And in this situation, Houston Rockets have become a prime time attraction on the road again. Meaning when they play on the road, you ain't getting them tickets. That's going to be a hard ticket. People, Rockets, they drew, but wasn't nothing sexy about them. People on the road wasn't coming to see Jalen Green, who's a leading scorer of the Rockets. They wasn't coming to see Fred VanVleet. Amin Thompson, he came around and they wasn't buying. They wasn't coming to see him in flocks. They wasn't coming to see Sengun in flocks. Now you're box office. Can those young guys handle that type of X? We know Fred VanVleet can. So now you have at least 2 world champions in the starting lineup for the Houston Rockets. Like it right now. Like it. And I too say teams are under pressure to win now. I mean, some are. I think the Rockets are playing with house money. I mean, they guys, understand something. There are a lot of NBA guys that come into Houston. They love H-Town. You can say what you want about how hot it may get, and my common response to that is, that's what air conditioners are for. And most air conditioners blow good and cold in H-Town. They love the setup where there's no with a tax situation. They love the bang for your buck that you can get with, or you used to be able to get with real estate in this city and our state and surrounding areas, that is. They love that. Then you have, not to mention, you have to realize relationships go a long way. Not saying they don't know relationships in other cities, but it's just Houston, H-Town is special for a guy like KD. You come in here, TJ Ford. It's like a big brother to him. Remember during the COVID, KD came down to H-Town, working out in TJ Ford's facility, among other players. Relationships, that means a support staff is already in place. That helps. It helps when you're deciding, to be able to move and shake and have people that you can trust to rely on. You want to go here, eat a shrimp basket here, or some oxtails there, or whatever. You got the support staff is already in place. We got 3 minutes to the top of the hour, and before we segue into the high school basketball scene, I want to give a shout out to a couple of young men on the track and field circuit. They won last week. They had the Nike Outdoor Nationals. The Nike Outdoor Nationals, right? And these are young men. Of course, they're running with their track clubs. And 3 of the top 5 finishers were from the state of Texas. These are high schoolers. 2 of them has high school eligibility remaining. Young man who won the state track meet at the UIL in Texas, his name is Tate Taylor. Tate Taylor ran a 9.91, I think, at the UIL state meet last month. He ran a 10.1, which was good enough to nip Maurice Gleaton out of Georgia. He ran a 10.11. And understand something, this 10.1 was ran despite a soaking wet track and pretty cold temperatures around the sub 50 degrees, and he still ran a 10.1. Now in 3rd place you had a kid, Braden Deshaun William. I don't know where he's from. You guys on the Boom Boom Room, let me know where's Braden Deshaun. He ran a 10.17. So it was 3 guys, 10.10, 10.11, 10.17. Those are basically almost, they were neck and neck at the finish line. So a little separation. 4th place was a kid, Kyler Brown from Oklahoma. Ran a 10.43, which basically was the same identical time of the 5th place runner, which is Dylan Mitchell. Now, Tate Taylor, from what I understand, is an 11th grader going to the 12th grade. We're going to hear about this young man all next year. But this Dylan Mitchell, he ran a 10.43, came in 5th place in this event. He's in the 9th grade, going to the 10th grade at C.E. King High School. They tell me this young man is special, and whatever I'm doing next year, I'm going to go. Well, it says he plays football. I'm going to go watch him play football. I'm going to go to one of the C.E. King, probably when they play North Shore or Tascasita or Summer Creek. I want to see him against some meat. And Dylan Mitchell, write that name down, guys, for real. That's special. I want to give a shout out to all of those guys and their performance of representing Texas in track and field. Now we'll go let me see. I guess we go right into the high school basketball, the TABC. Yes, I was there. I went over to DFW. It was a great job. A lot of things go into place in infrastructure. They had a couple of hiccups at the beginning of Friday's event. One of the main locations, had no score table operators on 1 or 2 of the courts. They ended up, solving that problem. That's what it happens. It's problem solvers. And it was, the show went on. A lot of matchups. I liked this year. One thing that stood out to me that I liked was the fact that a lot of the teams that are perennial powers, but not urban perennial powers. I mean, let me just cut through. A lot of the teams that teams are filled with white kids primarily, that you don't get, that aren't the normal name brand teams, and a lot of people that watches primarily the same or similar urban field teams. TABC did a great job of mixing and letting those guys play against each other. So now it helps to validate those guys. Validate meaning that for those that aren't household names, you get to see them, right? And you get to say, okay, this the team. Oh, now I remember these guys, and you go from there with it. Let me see. One of those teams would be, I got to see them on yesterday, and one of those teams would be Birdville. Birdville beat Beaumont United by double digits, right? Now, they also beat Houston's EOP by 20 plus. They lost to an Austin Westlake team who's guided by incoming star Bo Ogden. He's at Austin Westlake. Saw him yesterday. It's like he adds another inch every time I see him, and he's one of the state's most respected perimeter shooters, perimeter threats. Is Bo Ogden. So him and Austin Westlake, man, that's a perfect match. That's just what the doctor ordered from Austin Westlake. Now Austin Westlake, meanwhile, got a chance to watch them, read fragments of their game. Of course, Dallas Carter put a hammer on them, and I caught the end of that game on Saturday. And then Austin Westlake nipped Crowley in a thriller on Sunday afternoon, 61-60. Speaking of Crowley is a team that is playing in the Hoops Giving Classic, and this Crowley team, they lost to Beaumont United. They lost to Westlake by 1. We just mentioned they beat up on Houston EOP, and that was by 9. I'm gonna tell you, EOP, you guys need to buy the scheduler, a gift card to Starbucks or whatever, because they showed love and put you guys in prime real estate for at least 2 games, I know for sure, and which is cool. I mentioned the Beaumont United team. They Peyton Jones helped his stock, and and big Ephraim Moore. Ephraim is going to come, and the thing is, he's putting it all together. He's getting his body is looking a lot better than it was a year or last season. So I can applaud Big Ephraim on that. They call him EJ. Big EJ is going to be a force. But a lot of people out there, everybody want their egg to hatch just because another egg is hatching. Just when you got to consistently put your fingerprints on games, win, lose, or draw. You must do that. If you keep doing that, you got plenty of time. It's going to be a sophomore this year. And Beaumont United, despite going 1-2, understand something. Despite going 1-2, that Birdville team, by the way, guys, that's the team who lost to Beaumont Westbrook in the championship of the state 5A UIL state championship. Birdville. So Birdville had a few key pieces coming back. That team is good. And these two teams could meet in the state championship. They could. We don't know. We'll see. However, I know one thing. Dallas Carter is a team it's impossible to talk about this past weekend without saying Dallas Carter's name. Here's what I mean. They won the first game. They beat Austin Westlake, right? Second game, of course, they beat Beaumont United. And the third game, they beat EOP. And those 3 wins came by a combined 72 points. Coach Love had went on social media and basically told them the type I like. I don't want you to wait till after it's over with, then you start hoovering. Well, you should have did. He told the world, you didn't give us no game on that first day on the Duncanville main court. They had them on court 6 one game, and then you had them on court 2 the second game. Now they were center court for the third game on Sunday, but that was against EOP, a team that was already had limped into that match. Had already limped into that match winless. So you beating EOP was that's like getting shot by Jesse. That's like getting shot by Jesse James. In other words, you beating EOP is a free space in bingo. You're supposed to beat them. You beat them by 25. They beat Beaumont United by 25. And of course, that Austin Westlake win was by 22. They are definitely, they're in the same district. They're class 4A. 4A. Now, mind you, they have Division 1, Division 2, and the sample size of those, we only had 1 year with these divisions. So it hadn't allowed me to note who's going to be Division 1 versus Division 2 this far in advance. But I do know one thing. Dallas Kimball and Dallas Carter are both 4A. They're both in the same district. They both is probably going to play each other. Well, it just depends on the 1A. Division 1 or Division 2. Somebody from DFW, you probably have more instant access to that than I will. But if you do, then they could possibly play each other 3 times. And that means only one of them can make it to state, if that be the case. That's Kimball or Carter. But right now, Carter reigns and attracts more attention. However, for Dallas Kimball, they are expected to receive 1, if not 1, 2 auditions that are coming now that's supposed to be joining the program. So a lot of teams down there, guys, played. What you saw, some teams were fragmented. So you have to do your homework and find out who is this their whole team. Okay, so that way you know what to expect. And still, every team is not showing you everything right now. Some teams just did different things different ways. Some teams did sub 5 in, some sub 5 out. I've seen different things. So you take it and for what it's worth. But don't dare think just because a team lost to a team in the TABC showcase in June that it automatically going to transfer over that it transitions into same results in February or March. That's not the case. So I'm looking at some of the comments, of course. And I'm looking at reading about some of the comments on the track and field. I wasn't looking at them. So I give you guys a shout now. Tasha said, yes, that was a win legal time when that young man ran, the young fella from San Antonio, the future track star, and Tate Taylor. Somebody asked, can we get the TABC in Houston next year? I wrote a long post on this in the VIP News last month. And it's going to be really intriguing. And TABC, of course, Johnny Carter, Hawk Carter, former high school coach, retired high school coach, very respected. And it's just a difference of opinion. And, you know, he's over that organization. And I can make cases on top of cases. And I just haven't. I've met with him about 3 years ago, on the early on about it, and it's basically in a nutshell. They didn't feel that we had the amount of multi-court facilities in that would be able to properly host it. And I beg to disagree on that, because it ain't like a lot of these places are right across the street that they had from Duncanville High School over to some of the facility, the venues that they used this year. They were in similar fashion. So I know it can work, but at the same time I came up with a new concept that a door has opened, and it has been after watching the Nike girls EYBL held in Houston, right, at the NRG arena. Then now that module that can be duplicated. If Nike can do it, right, and it was a live period, meaning Division I coaches came, everybody enjoyed themselves. Now, mind you, some of the courts, some people needed their ass whooped for not, from what I understand, the courts, some of them wasn't installed properly, because they use sport courts for the most part. Well, and there's a lot of dead spots, you know, in some of those courts, and those were young ladies that wouldn't be able to fly with the boys. But that is a venue that would solve the problems, which is already duplicated in Phoenix. In their live showcase, it's at the football stadium where the Phoenix Cardinals, Arizona Cardinals play at. They have multiple courts down, and everything is right there. So everybody is under the same roof. And here's what it does. People say, well, man, it's going to be more expensive. Let me tell you something. I'm a supreme event operator, and I get it. And that's a whole nother topic we get into the TABC, because everybody in the world knows who does the scheduling, who does the operations part of that event, which that's a whole different topic. But the thing is this: as an event operator, I promise you, you will save thousands of dollars in fees that you would have to pay your doorkeepers by extracting all of those, eliminating, that is, all of those different extra venues. You would save. Now the scorekeepers are the same, referees are the same, no matter what. The courts got to be, games got to go on. But you save all of those custodians fees. You save in some of those police fees. You save, all of that money is saved. That should be definitely under consideration. But as I said before, it takes for the local coaches association. It's harder for us to fight a fight that the coaches association should be fighting. They should be fighting that fight. I gave merely some ammunition and some talking points. Now, I mind you, the coaches association don't really know. They don't run events per se on a regular for a living. So I don't expect them to know and realize how much money could be saved for the extra expense it would take to rent that NRG. Yes, it's going to, but I guarantee you, I've had talk with somebody. They're willing to sit down with TABC. I've spoken with them. I've dealt with them before. I just met with James Brown in St. Louis. He's from Houston. And many of you know James Brown Sr., James Brown Jr. They are fixtures, especially when it comes to black in the Sports Authority and the Visitors Bureau in that sector in Houston. They're willing to sit down and make accommodations. They would possibly give TABC a few $1,000s to help towards their rental of the NRG. Each one of those sports authorities, guys, has a formula. Whereas for every person that comes from out of town, they have a formula as to what you are worth economically to that city, that town. Like this past weekend in Duncanville, I guarantee you that the city of Duncanville gave a check to TABC. If they didn't give it to TABC, they gave the check to some person who did the scheduling or the organization that did the scheduling. Guaranteed. It happens all the time. And some things that they can get, if you don't run events full time, you may not realize that there are ways, there's milk from different titties on the cow that you can get to be able to eat your bowl of cereal with, if that's what you want to do. I'm saying. But all you have to do, if a person is doing an event for you and they're not telling you, listen, you're getting a rebate, they're getting a rebate, $10 off every hotel room that a team stayed in. And if that money is going toward, if TABC is not known, is not getting that, or don't know about that, then that means that's a way that that's extra revenues you could get that could pay for the extra expense. Or that's your way of tipping the bartender for making you the good drink, and you telling the people that did the schedule, the guys, and they're good people, hey, you keep that. I just know but act like I don't know. All that's yours. So that's your way of getting paid without putting your hand in our cup. I know this stuff, guys. I've been doing this stuff for over 25 years. And I think I've mastered running events. But what I am saying is that for you to say, well, no, man, it won't work. We won't be able to afford it, won't be able to do it. Not interested. I get it. Because the people that do your event, they also run their own events. So if they run in your event, your operation, if they run an event, you don't want to come back and do a second one or another week one in Dallas and then one in Houston. Because that means they would have to be there. Who's going to be there solving the problems? I get it. That's why you don't have to rely. You have enough sample size.